What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and welcome back to another mock draft. I don't know what it tells you about the state of the Seahawks that I'm doing a mock draft in week 13, but here we are. We're back. We're doing another mock draft. I really enjoyed doing these a lot last offseason, and I think it's becoming that time of the year where we have a really good sense, I think, of where teams are going to lie. You know, maybe we move up or down a few spots, but we kind of know the gist of where each team's at this point in the season. And I don't know, I'll show you guys really quick. I did kind of adjust the draft order a little bit, kind of move some stuff around after last week. It didn't update fully because it's Monday morning, so, the week isn't over yet. I did give if you can't tell, I gave my Super Bowl predictions down here, but we're just going to go through the first round. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on each pick. And as always, I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below if I'm being dumb, if I'm being a genius, whatever you guys are feeling. Please, please, please let me know. So let's start off right here. Start off the draft with the Carolina Panthers, a.k.a. the Chicago Bears, because of the trade. Listen, I want to say one thing really quick. I don't see a reality where the Bears would have the first overall pick and they shouldn't take Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is better, he's younger, and he's cheaper. And say what you want about Justin Fields, even if you are the biggest Justin Fields apologist known to man, you have to acknowledge the fact that he has 1 year of cheap contract left, and then he's got that fifth-year option, and that fifth-year option is going to be something in the range of 35 to 40 million ish. It's going to be almost like a 1-year Daniel Jones contract, so to speak. And truthfully, if you can get Caleb Williams for 4 years cheaper, I mean, I don't know in what reality you don't do that. So I am going to go with Caleb Williams for the Bears here, and I'll put a pin in Justin Fields because he will become relevant later on in this video. So Caleb Williams first overall. And then we go second overall. I think it's pretty obvious the Patriots need a quarterback. Mac Jones isn't it. Bailey Zappi definitely isn't it. The consensus number 2 overall quarterback in this draft is Drake May. Now, there are some people saying, well, maybe it's Jaden Daniels. He played in the SEC, played against really good competition, won the Heisman. By the way, I don't think NFL executives care about the Heisman Trophy, to be honest. But, he won the Heisman. He played against the SEC, played in all these big games. And the big knock on Drake May is, if I had to give 2, inconsistency and the fact that none of his games really mattered, right? North Carolina wasn't competing for the playoffs this year. They weren't, one of the top teams in college football. He wasn't playing, in a primetime Saturday game against Alabama, right? That wasn't things that happened with Drake May. However, I still think Drake May is phenomenal, and I still think that he is the consensus QB2 in this class, and as a result, I will go ahead and have the Patriots take him. Now, the Arizona Cardinals, I think if you are the Cardinals sitting here at number 3, this is pretty much best case scenario because you're not taking quarterback. I think they've made it very clear that they are committed to Kyler Murray. They look like a significantly better team with Kyler Murray as their quarterback, and he looks like he has recovered well from that torn ACL. So where does that leave you? You say, hey, the other top guys in this class, Oli Fashanu, just drafted a tackle last year. I probably don't need him. Brock Bowers, we just drafted Trey McBride, who looks like an absolute stud. Probably don't need him. You are bestowed upon the absolute beauty of Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 3rd pick in the draft. Honestly, for some teams, I would consider taking this guy if you had the first overall pick in the draft. I really think that this is a uber talented wide receiver prospect, unlike we see, in a lot of years' drafts. They also need receivers. Like, it's just such a perfect pairing for Marvin Harrison Jr. to go 3rd overall to the Arizona Cardinals. He will not go past 3. Like, maybe the Bears just fully commit to Justin Fields and they take him 1st overall. I doubt it, but he will not get past the 3rd overall pick. The Arizona Cardinals will be very happy that he has been taken there, and they are going to scoop him up as soon as humanly possible. All right, let's go on to number 4, the Washington Commanders. Now, one thing I will say about the Commanders is that I think Sam Howell has done enough to keep his job next year, but I don't think he's done enough to be the long-term answer at QB right now. I think he's going to have another year, though. And one thing that you have to admit is that his offensive line play has been below atrocious. I mean, it's been awful. Like, at certain points in this year, they might even still be on the pace to break the sack record for a quarterback most times sacked in a year. And some of that is Sam Howell's lack of pocket presence. I totally get that. Some of it is, though, just atrocious offensive line play. And again, you're sitting here at 4. You got the top tackle prospect available for you. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. I'm taking Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. Now, the Giants at 5. This is where I think it gets very interesting because I think it's pretty obvious that they need pass catchers, right? But could they go quarterback? I don't think so. I've heard it floated around. I know PFF did their mock draft and they had him going 5th overall to the Giants for Jaden Daniels anyway. I don't think that they can take a quarterback 5th overall. I think that would be putting too much resources into the quarterback position where there are significant other needs elsewhere, right? I would think, if you're the Giants, you want to go with a pass catcher because you don't have really a lot of good receivers. Jalen Hyatt's a project, right? A lot of your other receivers just really aren't that good. Obviously, Marvin Harrison would be your top choice, but he's not going to make it to the 5th overall pick. I think they go with a guy like Malik Neighbors, who is a playmaking, home run hitting wide receiver from LSU. I think he's going to change this offense day one. And again, you're making this big financial commitment to Daniel Jones. Why not surround him with as many talented wide receivers as possible? Maybe Darren Waller comes back next year. I'm not really sure. But as of now, I think Malik Neighbors would be the pick. You got to get him some wide receivers. You got to have some juice in that offense, right? At number 6, we have the Tennessee Titans. Now, I think it's important to understand the way that the Titans are built, right? Mike Vrabel, he wants a tough, physical football team. He does not really want these flashy playmakers. He wants, he's going to put your hand in the dirt and he's going to beat you up. Now, if I was the Titans, I would personally probably go quarterback here. I think that this is the spot to go with a Jane Daniels, maybe a Michael Penix. But they, I think, believe in Will Levis to be the quarterback next year. And I don't think that's really Mike Vrabel's philosophy. So with that in mind, I would think that the Titans go with Joe Alt, who I think would help continue the dominance up front that Mike Vrabel wants. He is going to help them run the football. He's going to help them pass block for Will Levis. And we saw last year taking Peter Skoronski. I think he'd probably play more guard going forward. Joe, all of a sudden, your offensive line doesn't look too bad, right? And I think that's a Mike Vrabel pick right there. And I think that, Joe Alt is probably tackle 2 outside of Olufushanu. For the Bears at number 7, okay, this is a spot where I think the Bears look to add another offensive playmaker because there's so much variable with the Chicago Bears right now. I really do think, though, whoever they hire for their next head coach, God help us if Matt Eberflus comes back, but I think whoever they hire for their next head coach should be an offensive guy. I don't think there's any question about that. He should be an offensive guy, and as a result, I think you want to surround him with as many awesome offensive playmakers as possible because DJ Moore is awesome, certifiably awesome, right? I think that, Darnell Wright at tackle, the tackles are pretty good. Tevin Jenkins is pretty good. So your offensive line right now is fine. So I think you have 2 options here. You can either go with Roman Dunze from Washington, who I think is going to cement himself as possibly the second wide receiver in this class. Maybe he goes above Malik Neighbors, and then maybe the Bears take Malik Neighbors here. Or you can say, well, we want to pair an edge rusher with Montez Sweat, who has been quietly very good for the Bears ever since he arrived in Chicago. Brock Bowers is tempting, but Cole Kmet's a good enough tight end to where it would be silly to take Brock Bowers with the top 7 picks. So I am going to go, and I'm going to take Rome Odunze for the Bears. Keep in mind, guys, Darnell Mooney's a free agent, right? So he's probably gone. So you kind of have a hole at that wide receiver 2 spot. And now you have a really good offense. You have Caleb Williams, 2 really good receivers. You have 2 good tackles. You hopefully now have an offensive coach. I think that things would be very much looking up for the Bears if this was the case. All right, let's go with the Raiders. Now, the Raiders are, again, a team that I think that you could see go quarterback here. And with the nature of the Raiders, with the way that they are, the way that they operate, they love speed. They love flash. They love, glitz and glam. What's stopping the Raiders from taking Jane Daniels right here? I mean, truthfully, if you look at the history of the Raiders, they always take the guys with the physical tools. They take the guys who have the highest ceiling. I think it's no surprise that Jaden Daniels' ceiling is very, very high. Now, is he probably a little overdrafted with a top 8 pick? Yes. The Raiders have been doing that for their whole history. So I don't think it would be too surprising if you told me the Raiders take Jaden Daniels top 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Jaden Daniels is a Raider. I love it. Next, for the Jets. The Jets, I think it's pretty obvious, are going to want to go with a offensive lineman. You look at offensive tackles. You have J.C. Latham right there. I personally think that J.C. Latham is probably the third best tackle in this class. And again, you have Aaron Rodgers for another year, maybe another 2 years. You want to protect him. You do want to protect him. I understand that his injury was because of, a non-contact Achilles tear, but every Jets quarterback has been getting beat up this year. I think that it's no surprise the Jets are going to go with J.C. Latham, or they're going to go with the best offensive lineman available, especially a tackle, because they need tackles badly, right? All right, Los Angeles Chargers. You got a lot of stuff going on. I think that their philosophy here has to be best player available. And lucky for them, I think the best player available right now is Brock Bowers at a position in tight end that they're not really good at. Gerald Everett is fine. He's okay. I mentioned it with the Bears a few picks ago, but Gerald Everett is not a good enough tight end for you to pass on Brock Bowers and feel good with it. I'm going to take Brock Bowers. I think you really want to lean into this Chargers offense. You really want to lean into Justin Herbert, give him as many tools to succeed. And I think that at a certain point, the offense will just be so good that the defense almost won't even matter. Like, you can give up 25, 30 a game, and Justin Herbert can hopefully just go out there and win you shootouts, back to back. I would love Brock Bowers to the Chargers at 10. Now, hopefully he's not a Kyle Pitts where his team knows how to use him. But in red zone, in any kind of goal line situation, I think Brock Bowers would be a weapon for the Chargers. All right, let's go with the Falcons. I think the Falcons are also going to go quarterback here, but interesting caveat I want to point out. Interesting caveat. So, I mentioned at number 1, the Bears take Caleb Williams, which means that Caleb Williams is going to be their quarterback, obviously, right? So what do you do with Justin Fields? I think you try to trade Justin Fields. Now, I personally think that a team like the Falcons would love to trade for Justin Fields. I think the 11th overall pick is a little rich, however. So you look down the board at some of these teams down here, right? Well, the Packers aren't trading for Love. Colts aren't. Texans, Jags, Lions, not in division. No. So it's kind of like, well, where do you trade Justin Fields? Maybe Tampa gives you pick 19. That's assuming they win the division. That's maybe Los Angeles gives you pick 14. I don't know. I think 11 is too rich. You also got to look at the package that Sam Howell got back in the day to go to Carolina. A second, a fourth, and a sixth. I think Justin Fields would net more than a second, a fourth, and a sixth. Maybe you tell me he gets a late first and a fifth. Like, I think that's a package for Justin Fields that would seem doable, and it would seem like a good deal for the Bears. I think pick 11 is too rich for the Falcons to give that up, but if they win their division and they're sitting at pick 19, 20, I could see Justin Fields going to Atlanta. But with their current selection, pick 11, that puts them, I think, in a good enough position to get one of the quarterbacks that they really want. And I personally believe, out of the quarterbacks remaining, I think Michael Penix is the best one. Michael Penix is the best one. He's going to be able to distribute. He's going to be able to play point guard, something that Desmond Ridder hasn't been able to do, unfortunately. And truthfully, I think that he throws such a good deep ball that if you can incorporate that, they don't have a deep ball game with Desmond Ridder. If you can incorporate that into the Falcons offense, I think it makes life so much easier for guys like Bijan Robinson. You're able to hit those deep plays down the field to Kyle Pitts because he's open. God knows he's open. But they're just not hitting him right now, unfortunately. So that's that. For the Saints, I mean, they're going to be in cap hell. I mean, just complete cap hell in this summer. I think your philosophy is to go with best player available. I will never complain with an edge rusher. Jared Verse from Florida State, I think, is one of the better edge rushers in this class. Might be the top edge rusher. It's not a great edge rusher class. I mean, let's be honest here, but I think he's one of the top ones. For the Seahawks at 13, again, you have issues. I think if you're looking at quarterbacks, if you're sitting here at 13, if Michael Penix, the Washington guy, of course, or Jane Daniels is here at 13, I do think that the Seahawks would take him. They loved Anthony Richardson last year. But if you're sitting here at 13, I think you want to prioritize defense. And I think Latu from UCLA is a really solid edge rusher because they just kind of need help everywhere. They need help on the edge. They need help in the interior offensive line. They need help in the linebacking core. They might need a new quarterback. Like they're not in a good spot right now. They're really not. So for the Seahawks, I think go best edge rusher. Maybe take one of the quarterbacks if he's there. Other than that, like, you just kind of got to do whatever. Falcons. The Rams right here. Chop Robinson. We could see 3 edge rushers go in a row. Chop Robinson is a pretty good player to get, I think, at pick 14. I do think that he's going to be able to cause havoc. And again, you want to squeeze however many years you have of Aaron Donald left. I think that's a good pick for the Rams. A lot of young players on that defense. For the Arizona Cardinals, now sitting at pick 15, I expect this pick to be a bit lower just because the Texans surprisingly lost to the Jets. With the Texans pick, I would say that they go with Kool-Aid McKinstry. Now, I believe that every good defense needs a good corner. And I don't think the Falcons have, I keep saying the Falcons. I don't think the Cardinals have that as we speak. Now, Byron Murphy, I think, was a big loss, unfortunately, for the Arizona Cardinals. But if you're able to get a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry with pick 15, I think you got to do it. I believe that he's the best corner in this class. And maybe I'm biased because I'm an Alabama fan, but that's what I believe. And I think that he would be a good get at pick 15. Pick 16 for the Denver Broncos. Listen, I almost think that you want to go with receiver just to replace, the lack of production from Jerry Jeudy. I mean, Courtland Sutton is a stud, and, Jerry Jeudy has not been, unfortunately. Keon Coleman is really good, and Emeka Egbuka is also really good. Maybe we don't go receiver yet, though. They do need corner as well. It says they need quarterback, receiver, center, edge. If we're looking down the line, I don't think they take a quarterback just because they're so tied into Russell Wilson, unfortunately. I think at pick 16, they will go with Dallas Turner, the edge rusher from Bama. One of the better edge rushers in this year's class. Again, maybe doesn't have that A-plus upside that Will Anderson had last year, but I think he's still a really talented edge rusher, and he's going to be able to get after the quarterback. Pick 17, the Bills, they need receivers, and they need receivers badly. Keon Coleman, I think, is going to be a great get to pair with Stephon Diggs because, let's be real, Gabe Davis isn't it. Gabe Davis is not it. And all of a sudden, now you have Stephon Diggs, Keon Coleman, and Dalton Kincaid. That's a damn good passing offense. For the Cincinnati Bengals, you are really hoping that Brock Bowers falls to 18, which he probably won't because outside of that, there's not a lot of good tight ends in this class. Okay, so then we're going to go with either a tackle or a defensive lineman. Johnny Newton, they nickname him Johnny Newton. Johnny Newton from Illinois, I think, is a disruptor up the middle. Could really help that young defensive line, or not that young defensive line, that veteran defensive line, get some more youth injected into it. And I think he'd be a good get for the orange and black in Cincinnati because he's already wearing orange and black in Illinois, right? I mean, it just fits. Buccaneers, quarterback, running back, tight end. I think that if we're going to see Bo Nix go in the first round, it could be to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It really, really could be. I think, I don't know who the coach is going to be next year. I don't know what receivers they're going to have on the roster next year, but I don't think that Baker Mayfield is going to be a multi-year starter for the Buccaneers. If they have an opportunity to get a guy like Bo Nix, who was a Heisman finalist this year, I think they take it, and I think that Bo Nix will go over to Tampa Bay. Minnesota Vikings could very well also be in the market for a quarterback. I'm going to cross out Shedeur Sanders because I think he's going to return to Colorado. J.J. McCarthy is very much on the board here. He very much is in consideration here. I think this pick will be determined by how well he plays in the college football playoff. If he balls out and, he doesn't even have to beat Alabama because if you remember, C.J. Stroud, his draft stock improved by playing so well against Georgia. They weren't able to win in the end because of that missed field goal, but he played really, really well. So say J.J. McCarthy plays awesome against Alabama. I think that this pick is in play here because they do need a quarterback. Kirk Cousins is probably going to leave in free agency, I would imagine. But if they sign Kirk Cousins and or if they're not completely sold on J.J. McCarthy, given the board so far, I think that you can go with an interior offensive lineman. I think you can go with a defensive lineman. I think you can go with, maybe a corner. Cooper DeJean from Iowa, I think, is intriguing, right? Perfectly fit in his draft board ranking to where the Vikings are picking. I think that it fits Brian Flores' scheme. I think he's a guy that could be able to get after the quarterback if he's called the blitz. I don't know. I like the fit in Minnesota, to be completely honest with you. Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 21, guard, linebacker, and DB. I like Nate Wiggins here to the Steelers. Pairs him up with Joey Porter Jr. I think all of a sudden you're building a really nice defensive backfield. And, the one thing about corners now that you want tall corners with long arms. That's really the trend. I think it was set by Pete Carroll, honestly, back in the Legion of Boom days, because all those guys had just freakishly long arms. I think he would be a nice addition to the Steel Curtain. 22, Green Bay. They need running backs, tackles, defensive linemen, and safeties. Carmen Kitchens. I mean, I really, really like Carmen Kitchens. I think he can do a lot of things. He can be very versatile. And, with the Packers, Darnell Savage, probably not it. Adrian Amos is, gone and out of there. I think they do need a replacement at safety. I love the fit in Green Bay. I think that really, really works. Indianapolis Colts, they need wide receiver, offensive lineman, D lineman, and DBs. Now, I am going to go with receiver here for a few reasons. A, because there's one on the board that I still really like. And B, Michael Pittman's a free agent. And C, Anthony Richardson is going to be basically a rookie next year. And I think you want to surround him with as many talented pass catchers as humanly possible. I love Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. He reminds me a little bit of Jackson Smith and Jigba, just in kind of the way that they're able to get open. I really think that he would pair nicely, and I think Shane Steichen would find a lot of creative ways to get him the ball and get him open, right? I think that would be a great pairing. Via Cleveland, the Houston Texans, who they say they need wide receivers. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they got a nice young core of receivers, but they do need defensive linemen and more linebackers. Braylon Trice from Washington. Again, this is going to his draft stock is going to depend how well he plays in the college football playoff against some of the country's best college football players. But I really do think that he could go to Houston, a defensive guy, and D'Amico Ryans I think would be really good. And I think that they need more defensive linemen. They need more of an infusion in that front seven. Jacksonville, they need interior offensive linemen, edge rushers, and DBs. I'm scrolling down the board here. You could go with Leonard Taylor from Miami, kind of keep him in Florida. I don't hate that necessarily, but I do know that Calvin Ridley is a free agent, right? He is a free agent, and I don't know. He's a free agent soon. I don't know. If you look at the interior offensive line, not a lot of great options to take in the first round, I wouldn't think. So I would almost go with DB or defensive line. There's also Tyler Nubin, who could make that defense a little better. And I'm knocking my drink. Tyler Nubin, I'm not totally sold on him, to be honest with you guys. Kalen King, I think, would be a good one as well. You can never have enough good corners, right? Tyson Campbell's pretty good, but you can never have enough good corners. The Detroit Lions, I think they need to still focus on defense. I really do think that their defense is not here yet. Center guard, defensive line, and corner is what they say. Let's see, who are the best corners left? Because I do think that they could use corners pretty badly. Yeah, Josh Newton. Yeah, I might go with Josh Newton here. I think Josh Newton is a guy that will make that defensive backfield better because, let's be real, they're still getting shredded up. Their defense is not good at all. You need defense, Detroit. Take defense in the first round. Miami, they need a tight end and offensive line. Okay, so tight end, like we said, is not really available. Interior offensive line or offensive tackle. There is, some tackles right here. Let's look at how big this guy is. I have not prospected all these guys yet. I will say I don't have a total prospect grade. This is just a mock draft for fun, basically because I'm sad about the Seahawks. But Amaris Mims, could you project to a? This guy's kind of big. I mean, I guess he could project. I'm gonna take the guy from Oregon State right here. I think he could slide in at guard for Miami, hopefully. And yeah, I haven't really done a lot of review on the interior offensive lineman, I will be honest. Now the Chiefs, it is as clear as the sun being bright that they need wide receivers. Adonai Mitchell from Texas is the best one available. Whoever the best receiver available is when the Chiefs pick, you can pretty much, write it in that they're going to take that guy. The Eagles, I really think they need linebackers. They do not have good linebackers really at all. Now, it could be a little early to take linebackers, but they need either a linebacker, they need a corner. Terrion Arnold is fine. Kamari Lassiter is also fine. I would go corner here, and then I would go linebacker in the second round, to be completely honest with you. Now, the Cowboys, I could see the Cowboys taking a running back because, let's be real, I don't think Tony Pollard is that great. But, there's not a lot of good running backs. This is a class where you take running backs in the third round. This isn't last year with Bijan and Gibbs. Dallas, they need a center, D linemen, linebackers, and corners. I think Leonard Taylor would be a good fit for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. They just need defensive linemen. I think Mozzie Smith was a miss, unfortunately. I kind of said that last year when it happened. I think it's a miss. But going on to the Ravens, I don't know if they need wide receivers because Odell is pretty good this year, but I guess wide receiver would still be in the question. Xavier Worthy, I don't know if you would want to have another receiver like Zay Flowers, though. I think you'd want to pair him with a different, archetype, let's just say. But they do need D linemen, they do need corners. It's never bad to have good corners. But one thing I will say, and this is just given the nature of the Ravens, JT Tomilam, whatever. I think that's the player that the Ravens would really like to draft. He, from what I've seen, is not the most gifted edge rusher ever. However, I think that he plays a good linebacker. I would honestly move him out to like Sam or Will linebacker. And when you have Roquan in the middle there leading the defense, I think that's a good pairing. I'll take him. And then the 49ers ending it off, you do need some interior offensive linemen, I would say. You could use a corner. Kamari Lassiter, I think, would be a good fit because Travarius Ward and Lenore are good, but they're kind of inconsistent. So we're going to look through the draft. Oh, and then I got a fucking ad. All right. We're going to look through that draft. I kind of think that the way the board fell is pretty realistic. Now, there's some moves that maybe I go back and I don't make. Like maybe the Bears don't take Roman Dunze top 7. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the Seahawks go with somebody else. Maybe quarterback doesn't go 8 to the Raiders. I don't know. But I'm pretty proud of my first mock draft. I like this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.